I'm JJ Byers and this is Jonathan McKinney.
Hello.
And you are watching another episode of Writing Advice with JJ and Jonathan. Today we're going to be talking to you about making your characters flawed, because I think a lot of people, when they first start writing especially, are likely to, their main character at least, be perfect. So they never make bad decisions, they're always the good guy, they are basically a perfect person who bad people and flawed people interact with. And if you do that, if you make it so your main character is so good and so perfect that they never do anything wrong, they are going to be boring.
Yes, and also, not just that it'll be boring, I would argue that readers who have read a lot and have engaged with a lot of fictional characters who are flawed will see what you're doing, which is essentially you're on a bit of a vanity project.
Yeah, you're kind of using your main character to represent everything that is the good parts of yourself. And you're making them unrelatable, because nobody is perfect, nobody is flawless. And when you make your character flawless, especially if it's your main character, you're going to lose your audience, because we all make mistakes. Sometimes we're grumpy, or we do a bad thing and we regret it, or we're damaged in some way. And how can you connect to a person who has none of that? Because the flaws in us are what portray our humanity. Because none of us have come from a bubble of perfection and then just existed in the world without being bumped in some way. And if you make it so your character gives no sign of having a life in this real world that we're in, where bad things happen and mistakes are made and pain is caused, you can't connect to that person. You're going to lose people, because they're going to be more interested in the people around your main character.
Yeah.
Who are damaged, who are flawed, who are wounded, who are making mistakes, because then it makes us feel better about ourselves.
Right.
We all want to be represented in fiction.
Yeah, okay, so a counterpoint. For the most part, I agree with you, but I think that it's worth looking at very popular characters.
Superman.
Well, Superman, I think, is kind of proof of what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because, and this is, a lot of Superman fans will be very upset and tell you that, no, it's the writing that's the problem, and they're probably right. But it's a really touchy subject for some people, and they get very angry about Zack Snyder. So we're not going to really go on about that. Doesn't matter. But I think one example that makes a good case for what we're talking about is Captain America, because in the recent Marvel movies, he is essentially an idealized human being who pretty much always does the right thing. Even when it's complicated, even when the Marvel universe kind of disagrees with him. I think in Civil War, he is kind of, the world sort of reacts as though he's wrong, because like Iron Man and the Council or whatever.
They're like, you sign the accords, and you should be, guided by authorities that aren't you, and he's like, no. So he is like, he's going against what we're being told is right.
Is it flaw though?
But it's not. It's not, and also he's right.
He is. I mean, that's complicated though.
Yeah, but
in real
we're gonna
life,
get into some serious.
In real life, he would probably be wrong, because it would be. I mean, that's a boring conversation for writers trying to learn how to write. But even if he's wrong, I don't necessarily think of it as being flawed.
Because he is motivated. He's not motivated. He's not. If he is wrong, it's not because he's out for himself, or he's not thought about it, or he has not considered all of the potential.
I think a lot of our flaws come out in our lives when we are tired and stressed and fatigued by trying to keep up. And I suppose his whole thing, and it's in the movie, see that I can do this all day thing.
Yeah.
He is indefatigable. That's the right word.
We as people, you're right. We as people, we get tired and we get stressed.
Yeah.
And that is when all of our ability to be the people we want to be.
Yeah, the good person that you're trying to be.
It gets broken because you physically and mentally cannot keep up with that. So if your character doesn't ever get so stressed and so tired or make mistakes because mistakes happen.
Yeah, I suppose then the way that we would use the example from Captain America or of Captain America is that virtue of being, he can always stand up and fight again or stand up and do the right thing again is part of his thing. And if you write a character who doesn't have to summon anything to keep going, but just sort of magically seems to keep going in any circumstances, being the best person,
good and never has to think about it and never struggles.
Yeah,
who can match that?
Yeah, it's not something that you want to engage with or that you can engage with when you're reading a book or you're watching a film.
Exactly. I mean, imagine if say you're a mother. So this will be one person to me, right? Say you're a mother and you're reading a book about a mother. You can read a book about a mother who is Flop from Bing Bunny.
Right.
And who is always calm, never shouts irrationally, never is like, just leave me alone, never gets upset, never cries. You're going to read this story or watch this film and be like, I am the worst person.
Or you might idealise the children because they're not really the point of the story, and then the mother hasn't ever got to get angry or stressed.
But if you write a story or a TV show or a film or whatever about a mother or mothers who struggle and worry about the work-life balance and can't always sit on the floor playing dolls with their kids for hours, who get upset, who stress, and I will just use this opportunity to recommend a TV show called Working Moms.
Okay.
Because the mums in that all suck in this very real way. That I'm like, mothers in fiction that cry and shout and struggle and do their best to be the best but can't. This is what I'm talking about. I incredibly relate to the show and I love it because the mothers in it that I relate to, because I'm a mother and I'm a working mother, they're working mothers, and I connect to them. If they were perfect, if they never did the wrong thing, I would switch off.
Yeah,
I couldn't watch that because I would feel horrible about myself and I would feel like I didn't understand those people.
Okay, so yeah, pointless. But for your story, I mean, it depends what kind of fiction you're writing.
It's just me going off on one.
If you're writing young people, and flaws everywhere because young people haven't figured out how to keep all their shit together, particularly.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty universal thing, that when we're teenagers, early 20s, we act like assholes quite a lot.
I certainly did.
Because we're not developed necessarily for adulthood, but we're kind of thrown into adulthood, and then if you're writing young people, you don't want to have a 16-year-old kid who's perfect. That would be really weird and difficult to engage with.
You can't relate to that. You can't connect to it. It doesn't read as real. And if it doesn't read as real, if people read it and are like, nah, no, what's the point? Your audience are not going to be with you. They won't read your book. They won't watch your film. They won't continue with your TV show. They just won't bother.
Yeah, and also, if you're denying yourself opportunities for conflict in your story as well.
100%.
Your character can create their own obstacles, essentially, by alienating people that they should be showing more respect towards, or just failing because they're busy doing something they shouldn't be doing. Something that comes from their flaw creates a story obstacle that you can write them through, and then demonstrate how the story you're telling teaches them the lesson that they need to learn. Whereas if they're perfect at the start, then it's just really the perfect 16-year-old showed up, waved the magic wand, and the problem went away. The end. Not a very good story. So,
I agree.
That's where I'm feeling. But I think it's a really interesting theme to think about, an interesting topic to think about, because I think there is something about a very inspirational character like Superman, perhaps not the Snyder version, but
Yeah.
you know, Grant Morrison's Superman.
Yeah, I think having a character who is really, really good is a good thing.
Yeah.
But if they are really, really good to the point of being perfect, they're boring.
Yeah, I think that is for the most part true, and I think it would be bad advice
If
to say
they learn
otherwise.
from things and they are really, really good and they always set out to do well and they're always motivated in a positive way, but sometimes it doesn't work out and they learn, that's different. If they are just always perfect, what?
Yeah,
I don't
think-
like it.
I think the only, like, 'cause I'm probably more drawn to the concept of writing a perfect,
Yeah, I'm definitely
idealized
not.
character, but that's, I think that there has to be context for it. So if you dropped a, you know, a very idealized human being who's got infinite resources of patience into a very, very grim and grimy world, that might be interesting. It might sort of turn into a comedy. I'm thinking of the one with who was the mummy? Not the mummy, but
Brendan Fraser.
Brendan Fraser. There's a movie with him and I think possibly Drew Barrymore or someone where he's in a bunker. It's a bit like the
A bit like Kimmy Schmidt.
yes, yeah. That's where, but they're not idealized characters. They're just sort of naive because they haven't lived.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, that's our
tangents ahoy.
video. That's our video about making sure your characters are flawed and why you should and what mistakes you can make with them. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any examples of perfect characters, if you really disagree with us and either you're writing a perfect character or you love a perfect character in fiction, tell us. Comment below because A, we'd like to see it. Like, we'd like to see this character and why they are appealing despite the thing we have a problem with. And we can do a video and we can give you a shout out and make sure that we cover them. And yeah, that would be cool.
Last word from me, just to be careful with this advice. Yes, you want flawed characters, but we have to sort of find it in ourselves to root for them at some point. So
Oh
don't,
yeah, sympathetic
Yeah.
but flawed.
If they are complete, you know, gobshites, then it's that's going to be harder. Not necessarily a bad idea.
Yeah, it's always fun to have a complete gobshite.
Yes,
But your main character at least, you need to care about them a little bit.
it helps if
It
you're
does.
like, oh, I hope that they get what they're looking for.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this video. If you could like this video and subscribe to our channel, you will help us keep bringing you more writing advice, which is what we want to do and what we hope you want us to do. So thank you very much, and we'll be back again soon. Bye.
Bye.